The Fall of the Iron Behemoth, the Tiger versus the Sherman. The Last Stand at Sintho, August 8, 1944. South of Caen, near Sintho, the summer air shimmered with heat and the smoke of battle. Hauptmann Michael Wittmann, commander of Tiger 007, peered through his Zeiss binoculars from the cupola of his tank. The creak of his leather gloves was drowned out by the distant rumble of advancing Shermans. For 3 relentless hours, his company of 4 Tigers had obliterated one Allied formation after another. 27 Shermans burned in the hedgerows of Normandy. By every standard of tactical warfare, they were winning. Yet through the haze, Wittmann counted 48 more Shermans rolling forward, with dust clouds behind them hinting at dozens beyond. His Tigers had only 12 rounds of armor-piercing shells left, little fuel, and no reserves. The mathematics of annihilation were no longer written in tactics or courage, but in production statistics. Within minutes, Wittmann's Tiger would be destroyed, its end uncertainly attributed to either a British Firefly or Canadian gunners. His final radio message, "Ammunition exhausted, enemy unlimited," echoed the despair of every German tanker witnessing the collapse of German armor beneath industrial arithmetic. Birth of the Tiger. Engineering excellence and fatal hubris. The story of the Tiger tank began not on the battlefield, but at Hitler's mountain retreat, the Berghof, on May 26, 1941. Ferdinand Porsche and Henschel and Son presented their heavy tank prototypes. Hitler, captivated by the 88mm gun and impenetrable armor, declared, "This tank will be worth a battalion of ordinary tanks." Convinced that quality would triumph over quantity, he ordered immediate production. The Tiger would be a masterpiece of craftsmanship, hand-built by Germany's finest engineers.
The first Tiger rolled off Henschel's Castle assembly line on August 4, 1942, after 300,000 man-hours of labor and 26,000 individual parts. Skilled craftsmen fitted transmissions by hand, welders spent days on armor seams, and each vehicle was essentially a work of art. Oberst Wolfgang Tamal, observing the trials, wrote, "No enemy can stand against it. If we can produce 100 per month, the war is won." But Germany never did. Even at peak output in April 1944, only 104 Tigers left the factory floor, while American factories were producing 2,000 Shermans a month. The seeds of Germany's defeat were already sown in its devotion to mechanical perfection. The American response: building the arsenal of democracy. Across the Atlantic, American rearmament began not with military planning, but with a phone call. On May 28, 1940, President Franklin Roosevelt asked William Knudsen, former president of General Motors, to mobilize industry for war production. Knudsen's philosophy would shape America's wartime miracle. We can't build the best planes or tanks, but we can build the most and build them so any kid from Iowa can fix them. At Aberdeen Proving Ground, Army Ordnance officers drafted the Sherman tank's design around simplicity and standardization. Major General Gladion Barnes famously ordered, "I don't want a perfect tank, I want a good enough tank that we can build 1,000 for every 100 the Germans build. Make it reliable, make it fixable, and make it by the tens of thousands." Thus was born the M4 Sherman, a tank built for mass production, not mechanical artistry.
Factories of freedom. The assembly line triumph. The contrast between German and American production was as vast as the Atlantic itself. At Henschel's Kassel plant, 9,000 skilled workers labored in a setting more akin to a guild workshop than an industrial plant. Each Tiger was hand-built, its parts unique. Former worker Franz Leinhardt recalled, "Every gear was checked with micrometers, every weld inspected 3 times. It wasn't mass production, it was art." In Detroit, however,
Chrysler's tank arsenal, opened September 15, 1941, embodied a new form of warfare, industrialized. The world's largest factory of its kind, it employed automobile workers, housewives, and teenagers. Rosie the Riveter herself, Rose Monroe, worked there. They gave us 2 days of training. I welded one seam, someone else welded the next. We'd finish a tank in 4 hours. By December 1942, the arsenal was producing nearly 900 Shermans a month. Across 11 North American plants, total monthly production reached 3,500 tanks, compared to just 34 Tigers. The ratio, 103-1, spelled Germany's doom. Training and deployment, the human side of production. This production miracle reshaped how armies fought and trained. In the U.S., the abundance of tanks meant every crew trained on the exact machines they would later fight in. At Fort Knox, hundreds of Shermans were dedicated to training alone. Crews spent weeks mastering repairs, gunnery, and maneuvers. Private Clarence Smoyer recalled, "By the time we shipped out, I knew that tank like my own tractor. Every sound it made, what it meant." Tiger training, by contrast, was crippled by scarcity. The Panzertruppschule at Putlos had only 4 Tigers for the entire army's training. Most recruits practiced on wooden mock-ups. When real tanks arrived at the front, half the crews had never started their engines. The Tiger demanded perfection. The Sherman tolerated imperfection. War rewarded the latter.
D-Day, the arithmetic of overwhelming force. When the Allies landed in Normandy on June 6, 1944, they brought 4,000 tanks ashore, with 8,000 more in reserve. Germany had barely 430 operational Tigers across all fronts, 102 in Normandy itself. On June 7th, an SS officer of the 101st Heavy SS Panzer Battalion wrote, "They came like ants. You could step on dozens, hundreds, thousands more were behind them." The replacement system told the tale. When the Allies lost a Sherman, another rolled off the docks within 48 hours. Colonel Joseph Gillam's logistics network maintained 2,300 spare Shermans in Britain. When Germany lost a Tiger, it could take months to replace, if ever. Of 45 Tigers sent to Normandy in June, only 17 arrived intact. Even Wittmann's famed victory at Villers-Bocage, a one-man rampage that destroyed over a dozen British vehicles, was meaningless in the long run. Within 3 days, every British loss had been replaced. Wittmann's own company never received new tanks. Logistics and maintenance, the invisible weapon. Behind every Sherman stood an invisible army of mechanics, truck drivers, and engineers. The Red Ball Express, a supply convoy network of 6,000 trucks, delivered 12,000 tons of fuel and ammunition daily to the front. Every Sherman consumed 150 gallons of fuel per 100 miles, but American logistics ensured constant resupply. Tiger units, meanwhile, starved. Each required 650 gallons for the same distance, and fuel shortages